It's important to take responsibility and say, I've been letting myself down. There's other times where you have to say, you know what? I'm going to give myself grace, and I'm going to understand that I might be letting myself down here in the short run, but there's another priority, and then I can pick up momentum after. I think that's my ultimate goal here.
There's this myth in the world, and we talk about this often, where being successful, you're going to have more time somehow, like time freedom and all that stuff. It's not what you think. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I would say it's not what you think.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. Is your relationship with money hurting you today? Different seasons are for different reasons. Sounds like the name of a song. Quick shout out. I connected with several listeners yesterday. We had some listeners reach out. Shout out to Riley and shout out to Josie. And then there was two others I'll have to find when you're in your epic monologue, but I want to give a shout out to the new members of the NLU family. So I was talking to a couple of my clients the other day, and they said, "How are you? How's everything going? What's new?" And I said, we are just burning the candle at both ends right now." And they're like, "Why? What's up?" And I said, "Well, we have the event coming up, and the team is flying in for that, and that's amazing. And Ron, the head of the director of Next Level Podcast Solutions, is going on maternity leave. Ron is amazing. She does so much behind the scenes. She's incredible. So I'll be picking up some of that strain. Then we have group coaching starting a couple of days after the event. And Alan and I are going to be, it's just different when we're not in the studio all day. So like when the team comes in, we're going to be going down, and we rented an Airbnb. We're going to have a little team retreat, which is going to be amazing. But that kind of takes, we're going to go fishing. That takes Alan and I out of our element a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, "Well, you gotta make sure you take it easy." And I said, "No, you gotta understand, different seasons are for different reasons. And right now, this is the season, right? That's kind of the season we're in." So I have, over the last couple weeks, probably 3 weeks, I've really shifted what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And this all started for me when Alan messaged me and said, "Hey, I just talked to Emilia. I feel like you should probably talk to Taryn, because the next month, just with everything we have going on, is probably going to be very hard to predict, very hard to schedule, and you're probably going to need grace." So I talked to Taryn, and we're all good. But I think there's a level of, when you're in a different season, for whatever reason that is, you also have to figure out how to give yourself grace. So for me, I haven't been waking up at 4:30, 5, 6. I've been waking up at like 7:30 or 8, because I am burning the candle at both ends. I'm trying to make sure I'm actually getting enough rest to do it again. I'm trying to make sure I'm actually doing something that is as sustainable as it is. I haven't been going to the gym nearly as much, but I made a physical therapy appointment so I can get my shoulder and neck looked at. So that's progress. But it's almost the understanding that, okay, for right now, I'm going to pull back on all the things I'm doing so I can make sure I'm doing the most important 3 to 5 things really well. And I even told Alan this. I went from, I don't know, like a year ago, I got 100% of my PPT for like 6 months straight or 3 months straight. I don't remember how long it was. And now it's like, I told him, I said, "Dude, I don't even care. Like, don't look at it. It's bad. Right now I'm focusing on all the other stuff." So, but there has to be some level of acceptance. You have to find a way to give yourself grace for that, because it's really easy to beat yourself up. I mean, I could beat myself up and say, "Kev, you're not going to the gym." And I do. I do beat myself up, because that's just that's who I am. But I think that's an important balance for you to have if you're out there. And I'm trying to put it into words, but it's very hard to do. It's almost like it's the patience to understand that the season you're in is not going to last forever, but it's also the ambition to lock in that when the season kind of slows down and dies out, you're ready to get back to what you were doing before that season started. Because in reality, what you were doing before the season started is the reason the season came. And now you have to find a way to get back to that. And it's this weird thing. But I figured, if I'm going through it, I think Alan's going through it maybe to a lesser degree, but if I'm going through it, odds are somebody else in the world is too, because I don't know if I'm that unique.
think I had to sneeze there for a second.
Why don't you do it then? Hey,
Kev, because I don't think I do anymore.
do it. Make it happen.
I can't make it happen. Okay.
All right. It's gone now.
You said something that was really powerful. You said the things I was doing before the season is the only reason the season happened. And so when you hit the season, it's like, how do we sustain the momentum that created this opportunity? How do we sustain the momentum that created these great things while also doing these great things? And so, again, you've heard me say this 1,000 times if you're a long-term listener, and I'll always say this, is that success actually doesn't make your life easier. It makes it more challenging in certain ways and easier in other ways. And I don't know if I've ever been able to really articulate this to the extent that I want to, but one of the things you have to understand is that when you start tracking habits and you start gaining momentum and you start creating results, all of a sudden you're going to get more opportunity. And when you get more opportunity, you're actually going to get more challenge because you're still trying to sustain everything you were trying to do at the previous level while also all the new stuff at this new level. Mm. And there's this interesting transition period, and it's like climbing a ladder. You know, you're trying to get to that next rung on the ladder, and you have to take your foot off of that other rung down bottom, and you might end up slipping and falling all the way back if you're not careful. And so, where I wanted to go with this, different seasons are for different reasons. At NLU, I want to take you behind the scenes a little bit. At NLU, we have 26 departments, technically 25 with one Next Level Hope Foundation, which is our charity. On the team huddle, which we do every single week for an hour and a half with the entire team, the team that can't make it live watches it virtually because we record it and put it privately on Google Drive. And we open with the first half an hour is just connect. We do most important win, most important improvement for the week as individuals in our personal lives, not necessarily NLU stuff. Then we transition to what we call the NLU Impact Score. The Impact Score is comprised of 26 columns in Google Sheets that each have the departments. And then every single week we rate whether we go up or down or we stay the same. Okay? And then they all kind of summate and they give us a score. Are we doing better or worse than last week, essentially, as a whole business? And this will connect to the original different seasons are for different reasons, because what we're doing is we're taking each department and figuring out with each director of each department whether or not we're making progress. There's 3 departments right now, maybe even 4, that coming into this month are what we refer to as quote-unquote dead departments. And we always do a most important win, most important improvement for each department every week. And the most important win and most important improvement for these quote-unquote dead departments are the words "no progress on purpose." No progress on purpose. No progress on purpose. Why? Because we need to be focused on Next Level Live and Ron's maternity leave and NLPS and the other areas. And so what I really want to try to get to land here is this. There's a big difference between making a choice that is optimal for this season and then making an excuse. So with some people, when they don't want to go to the gym, they'll make the excuse of I don't have time or something like that, and we've all been there. What Kevin is saying is different. What Kevin is saying is this month's going to be really challenging as it is, and if I want to show up at my best for Taryn in the little time I have left, or for this podcast, or for our listeners, or for Next Level Live, or for Ron's maternity leave, I have to make sure that I reallocate my efforts away from the gym a little bit, knowing that I'm going to get back after it in April. Mm. And I think that that's really what it is are you, and this is the question I've written down, are you making an excuse to do less, or are you making the more optimal choice so that you can get more sleep, so that you can XYZ? And I have a lot of clients, and a lot of them are mothers, and they talk about how when Emilia and I have children, we're going to have to shift a lot of things. And it's going to be really hard for us in the coming years, and we're preparing for that now, But like in the coming years, when we have children, we kind of know, okay, we got to grind now, because when we have children, we're going to need grace. We're going to need more time. We're going to have trouble getting as much sleep as we've been getting lately. We're going to have trouble maybe exercising as consistently as we have been lately. And so it's kind of like preparing for these seasons. And it's kind of like back in the day, they used to have to prepare for winter. You used to have to harvest your crops and make sure you save a bunch of stored food, because in the winter, the farmers weren't able to, produce more food. And so it's that same mentality of, I'm not making an excuse of I'm not going to go farm because I don't want to. It's winter and now's not the time for that. And so that's kind of what it is this the optimal choice, or am I just making an excuse? And I think there's a big difference between this is a dead department, no progress on purpose, and making an excuse.
Yeah, we did an episode last week. I think I decided that the two most powerful words you can say to yourself. I decided that I'm not going to crush it in the gym for the next however many weeks at the beginning of the month. But the other thing also was what I can do in that time. See, this was the other thing. I can book a physical therapy appointment that's going to take me an hour that might create a lot of alleviation on all the pressure I've been feeling of every time I wake up, my neck hurts, like I can't get good workouts, I'm struggling. I know that's one of the reasons I don't want to go to the gym. So it's almost like in this downtime, what can I do that's not as much of a time investment that will also get me some results? But I really think it's kind of that. It's like I've decided that yes, I will be sad, and yes, I'm frustrated, and yes, I'm disappointed, but at least I'm not beating myself up day to day to day to day, because I've already decided that. And I think if say you're listening to this and you're in school and you have a big test coming up, you might not be able to do all the other things. You might not be able to go for a 5-mile run every day, and, it might not end up that way. It might be, okay, the most important thing, I used to juggle a bunch of different things, but right now I just have to have two hands on this one thing. I think that's part of the seasons. And to your point, when you do have children, it will be that. Because this is what's going to happen. It's a season in a way, but it's also, that's going to change your life, where now it's going to be Emilia, family, animals. You're putting a whole new layer into your life. So that season ends up becoming something much greater, and then you have to make decisions based on that. But I really want that for you if you're listening. I think that's a great question, Alan. Is it an excuse, or are you preparing for something? Are you deciding that, look, right now is not the best time for me to try to do all these things? And then you can kind of look at the proof to say, well, I want to go to the gym. I'll have time tomorrow in the middle of the day. Like, one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to convince myself not to go, because it's like, Kev, if you burn yourself out in the next week, you are in trouble with a live event, all that. Like, if you burn yourself out, you are in trouble.
Plus, you got to be at your best when we start fishing, because we don't want you to take home another L.
We'll see. I don't know. I got to check my rod. You might have to pick me one up too. I don't know.
I'll get you one. I think I might have to get a couple for the team too, man, honestly.
Company expenses.
Yeah.
Business expenses.
Yeah.
But that really is it. I think a lot of us, we beat ourselves up when we're not making progress. And sometimes it's important to take responsibility and say, I've been letting myself down. There's other times where you have to say, you know what? I'm going to give myself grace, and I'm going to understand that I might be letting myself down here in the short run, but there's another priority, and then I can pick up momentum after. I think that's my ultimate goal here.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda. I am a dental hygienist and a mom of 2 teenagers. I was first introduced to Kevin and Alan about 3 years ago, where I listened to a live Zoom training. I was really impressed with the value that they packed into that hour-long call, and that led me to their podcast page. I've been blessed to be able to be a student of them in that way through their podcast over the last 3 years, and the growth that I've seen in them, I guess, is what inspires me to keep coming back, because they not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk, and I see the changes in them. Weekly, monthly, yearly. So that led me to book a consultation with Alan about 6 months ago. And I showed up to that call in the lowest spot that I have been at in my entire life. The empathy and compassion that he presented in that call and how much work we still got done despite the state that I was in was, again, very impressive to me, and I've been a one-on-one client ever since. Alan is someone that you want in your corner. I have grown so much over the past 6 months in my ability to make decisions, my confidence, the relationships that I have, my organization, my motivation, and I'm only just getting started. I've made so many big moves, and he is the biggest motivator and the biggest encourager, and he is a good human that genuinely wants the best in your life, your future, your love, your relationships, your wealth, and they just want to make the world a better place, and I believe that. And if you have the chance to be in the same room or on the same call or have these two in your life in any way, then you are blessed, and it is a gift. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for everything that you guys do and pour into everyone. And I'm just so excited to watch your journey keep unfolding and to be a part of that in any way that I can.
I was at dinner with my mother last night, and she didn't mean this in any negative way whatsoever, genuinely, because when she first saw me, she hadn't seen me in a month and a half. She said, "You look great, you look incredible." She was very sweet. But she ended up saying something about how, like, you look skinnier or something like that. And for a bodybuilder who wants to be, it's just not a good term to use. Skinnier, leaner is the word. And again, it is what it is. But I essentially said, it's skinnier is probably not the best term, but yeah, I'm definitely leaner, and thank you. And then we kind of went into it. And I said, it's really challenging. She's like, you used to be a lot bigger. And again, it's like, she didn't mean anything negative by this, genuinely. But I was like, oh, I know. Kevin and we talk about this often because we want to share this with you. We look at old photos of us, and we were really, Kev, something special in the gym, man.
I saw a picture on a video on my phone.
Yeah.
Of my best friend Matt. When I lived with him, we used to have this thing called stick fighting. You saw us stick fighting before. You ever see that?
So, yeah.
You're the one who did the video. We would just call it a stick fight. And it was kind of like we would spar. We would kind of have like a boxing match, but it was body shots only. And there was a video of me shirtless, and I was like, wow, I was jacked. It's hard, though. Well, I'll let you go, and then I'll add on it.
No, you first.
It's interesting because I remember thinking, why are so many business owners out of shape?
I know.
I remember thinking that. I was like, that could never happen to me. It has definitely happened to me. Maybe not to the extent that I'm afraid of, but I'm not nearly as in shape as I was. Now, here's the other thing. I had this conversation with myself today. I said, life is going to be pretty easy comparatively after we get through this next month and a half.
Yeah.
Because my calendar is going to go back to 10 a.m.s. I will be in physical therapy. My body will feel better, and I'll be able to go to the gym more. So it's almost like I wonder if you always understand how long you've been in the season for.
And the other piece of this is make sure you take advantage of the time you have, because I think there's this myth in the world, and we talk about this often, where being successful, you're going to have more time somehow, like time freedom and all that stuff. It's not what you think. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I would say it's not what you think. When you have more demand, it's not like, what's a good example of this? I don't know. Think about like a movie star who eventually has one big movie, and now all of a sudden every studio wants them in their film. They're not like less busy now. You know what I mean? They don't suddenly have more time.
Yep.
So it's just important to realize, like, when you do have time, you have to use it. And the other piece of this too, and Kev, I've seen videos of me as well, and I was talking to my mom about this last night. I said, she's like, yeah, but you got to give yourself grace because you're a business owner now. You're doing well in business. You've got Emilia. You've got a home now. And it's like, I know and I appreciate what you're saying, But I kind of told her it's still unacceptable to me. And again, I know that I'm on the pretty intense end of this, but it feels so. She's like, well, no business owners are in shape. She literally said that. She's like, no business owners are in great shape. I was like, yeah, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I can't tolerate that within myself. And so I've had to drop my standards quite a bit, and it's actually quite alarming. And I can't deal with the idea that my best is in the past. I don't think I can do that. It's not in me.
I understand.
But what I will say, for the purposes of this episode, different seasons are for different reasons. First of all, I was a fitness model, fitness coach, fitness competitor. We didn't have anything business. We didn't have 26 departments. We had just a podcast, right? We had a podcast and we had gym and food, and like we were living that version of the dream back then. But we also were broke in comparison. And so now we have all these amazing things. We have relationships. We used to be single back then. Like, we have an incredible business. We have an incredible team. We have amazing listeners. We have clients all over the world. We produce 35 other podcasts. I'm so grateful, genuinely so grateful. But of course, our fitness has taken a hit. And we're also older now, right? So here's the difference. Are we making an excuse for ourselves, or are we giving ourselves grace for the reality? And that's a fine line. And so for me, I've had to really take a step back and say, okay, Alan, if you really do want to make sure your best isn't in your past, you're going to have to be more consistent, and you're going to have to make the time for only the most important things. Last thing I'll say here, I have a client who's on my fitness tracker. And if anyone's curious, you can reach out. I can send you it. But essentially what it is it's one column with the date. It's one column with your weight. It's one column with your calories. And then it calculates for you, drag and drop, exactly what you're in a surplus or a deficit based on your set point. And again, if you want help with this, just let me know. Reach out. Alan@nextleveluniverse.com. But I have a client right now who has inspired the heck out of me. She is super consistent right now. She's absolutely crushing it. She's sending me progress pics every week, and she's just on fire. And she's trying to get down to 139 pounds by a certain date, and we have this thing that calculates for her whether she's on track or off track. And I said, as long as this, I did an algorithm, as long as this number is above 0.6 pounds per week, you will hit your goal by your date. And so we check in every week and we adjust the numbers. It's great. But here's my point. She inspired me. I'm doing it every single day now because I had that moment in the mirror, literally and figuratively, of am I going to deal with the best being in my past? Am I going to tolerate that? Am I going to allow that? And the answer for me is no. I'm not willing to relinquish it yet. And Kev, I don't know, brother, if you'll ever get back to your best. And I think I'm wondering to myself if you will. But I do know that that's relatable for our listeners because some of our listeners are older and they're in different times. Now they have kids, right? And am I going to be able to go to the gym 3 hours a day and be a business owner and have children and have multiple homes? Like, no, absolutely not. Can I have a home gym in our next home that Emilia and I are already putting money aside for and then make sure I make the gym a priority? Yes. And that's the difference between an excuse and doing what's optimal for the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever, I don't know. I think part of me is always waiting for something to end. It's like, I'm always in my mind, it's like, all right, for a long time, I was doing 9 a.m.s till whenever. I mean, yeah, I was supposed to do 9 to 6, but Alan and I would go late. Most of our meetings go to 7, so I was working 9 to 7 at least. But I was thinking, okay, 9 a.m.'s too early. I'm going to switch my calendar to 10. Well, that hasn't really worked because, of course, like we're doing more. We got to do more episodes. Like, oh, 9 a.m.'s open now every day. Let's just book that. That's what I'm realizing is I need to make a lifestyle schedule switch in order for that to be sustainable for me. And right now is just not the time. That's the other thing, right? Am I willing? This is the understanding that I try to give. And I try to give it to myself first, but I think it's a good understanding to have. Alan and I are on this podcast right now. I'm not pouring into my relationship. Right now, the business is getting 100% of my attention. Mm-hmm. My health isn't really getting anything. I mean, I'm drinking water. Cool.
Yeah.
My relationship is getting nothing. Now, that's okay in this given moment. But the understanding for me is everything is a juggling act. And there's just too many things up in the air for the business right now where I don't have I can't put them down. I can't just walk away and let them fall. That's why things have to get changed. It's just a balance of juggling is what I'm going to say. I don't think it's a balance. I think it's juggling.
Well, the next season for you and I, speaking of seasons, different seasons are for different reasons, is we have to start over the next several years leveraging capital to buy back time.
Yeah.
Much better than we have in the past. And that's a much deeper business episode that we're probably not going to do. If you're curious about how to do that, reach out to me. But that's really what it is, Kev, is that we just have to consistently start that. And this is kind of the high level here. In the early stages of life, what you do is you trade your time for money. And then in the later stages of life, you actually reinvest the money to earn back more time. And that tends to be the kind of the progression. So now we're in our mid-30s. It's time for us to start shifting that, particularly in business now that we're doing better. But that's a different episode. What season are you in? What is an excuse versus what are just positive, intelligent choices? And then what's the next season that you want to prepare for now? And I think that at the end of the day, everything's a trade-off, to Kevin's point. Right now, I'm pouring 100% into the business and 0% into my relationship. And tonight, I'm going to be pouring 100% into my relationship, fitness, family, and food. And when we're at the gym, I'm going to be pouring a little bit into the relationship and a little bit into fitness because I'm going to the gym with Emilia. She's my gym partner. And so I'm trying to integrate. I'm trying to maximize. I'm trying to be as effective as I can. But at the end of the day, everyone has 16 hours a day, 8 hours of sleep, hopefully. And you got to maximize those to the best of your ability. And this is why core values and core aspirations are so important. And this is why clear, specific goals are so critical, because you can't achieve 8,000 things in 1 year. You can't. It's not even useful or intelligent to do that. I have 3 goals. 3. That's it. I don't have 50 goals. I don't have 25 goals. I don't have a bucket list of 1,000 things. I have 3 goals I'm focused on right now. And if you need help with that, reach out. But don't try to be the best at everything. Try to be the best at the things that matter most to you. And I think that that's what we've had to learn in our wiser, older years of being less in shape.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to get it back. I've already, again, that's the thing, right? Like when you're in the off season, that's when you make plans. I'm already thinking of like, I'd like to sign up to a jiu-jitsu gym. Couldn't do that before, but now I can if I start at 10.
Couldn't afford it.
Well, that and the time, right? Before it's like if I'm starting at 9 a.m., it's not enough time. I need more time. If I'm starting at 10 a.m., I can probably swing that. So there's a lot of things that go into that. All right, we're going to get out of here because we'll take you all day. As we have been speaking about, and we're super excited for this, and it's getting very, very close, and the team is talking about the logistics, and I am super, super excited. April 1st, 2023, Next Level Live. It is an experience. It is not a speech. It is not a presentation. It is an experience with friends. Hopefully, it'll feel like an experience with aligned, heart-driven family. That's really what I want it to be. Everything you need to know is in the show notes. 50 people, half-day event. It's going to be amazing. We'd love to see you there in person for the first time. If we've never had the opportunity to meet you, if we have had the opportunity to meet you, we'd love to see you again.
A room full of heart-driven dream chasers. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And for a VIP ticket, if you want to come fishing with us, I'm genuinely joking. I'm joking, but I thought that'd be funny. Also, as Kevin already mentioned in this episode, Group 10 is closing on April 4th. We've already actually had several listeners reach out for the promo code. So this is what I wrote down. If you're feeling lost, if you're feeling behind, if you're feeling unmotivated or undermotivated, if you feel like other people are on fire and you're not, this is it. 90 days, achieve more than you ever have, be more consistent than you've ever been. And for the entirety of the program, it's less than $300 in total, meaning less than $100 a month for 3 months. And you can pay in month-long installments rather. So it's less than $100 a month for 3 months, and you pay as you go. So reach out to Kevin or myself, because it's actually more than that without the promo code. So for listeners of this show specifically, if you reach out, we can give you a promo code and it'll be 30% off.
Next Level Nation, tomorrow, what does your anxiety zone feel like? So we talked about seasons today, but we will talk more about what happens when you are deep in a season and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I think I am stretching my current capabilities. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Bring your fishing pole.